Hello, this is Stuart Fenster. I'm the Couples Expert coming to you with another podcast episode on love and relationships. This is episode 96 of the Couples Expert. We're counting down to 100. It's all thanks to all of you, my listeners and supporters. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I'm going to be talking about a somewhat controversial subject today, but I am so glad you're here. If you have questions or comments about this podcast, please leave a review in iTunes. If you'd like to suggest a future topic or simply just review the show, I'd really appreciate it. You also can always reach me on my email, which is stuart@thecouplesexperts.com, or on the website, which is www.thecouplesexperts.com. Today's topic is really one in which I get to really hold firm on my mission. My mission in this podcast is to help couples find a better way of connecting, a way to be authentic, to be yourself with each other. Whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, whether it's a different sex couple or a same-sex couple. To have a really bond, a real true bond, an authentic connection is essential, where you know that you're loved and important to your partner, that each of you really sees the other as the most value and most precious thing in your life, and that together you can face just about anything. You see, my wife and I this past weekend did some things. We really decided this weekend to really hold true to what I believe in, which is really having the people in your lives feel important to you. So what I did is I invited the other counselors over to my home on Saturday night. And I've been wanting to have a party in our house for quite some time. And my wife and I really just decided that we're going to hold true. And we invited the counselors over with their partners. And it was such a wonderful experience because we got to know each other on a much more intimate level. And isn't that really what we want in our relationships as well? To really have your partner understand who you are, not just the different roles you play. And we all play different roles. You can be a father, you could be a son, you could be a friend. But to really be seen and to show one another, and that's what we did. We just wanted to relax and come to a home setting, which is my house, which I love my home, and really just show who I am in a casual setting. And it was just terrific, and I want to just thank Jackie and Shane and Kelsey and Sid, and just let you know that we had a blast, and I hope you really got a feel for how much we care about all of you. Today's topic is gay marriage. And I've named this topic, Love is Love. And the reason I named it that is because I hear so often from people questioning whether a same-sex couple truly is in love with one another. My experience in working with same-sex couples, it's really taught me that love is really true love. Whether you have a gay marriage or a straight marriage, the feelings are really the same, and the commitment is the same. And the hopes and dreams that you have for your relationship and your future together are truly the same. There aren't many differences in that area. And today, when I talk about some of these issues that same-sex couples face that are the same as straight couples, and I'm also going to identify some that are truly unique for same-sex couples as well. Thank you again, all of you, for joining me here at the Couples Expert Podcast. I really value all of you listening and us having this time to really talk about the issues of the day, the issues of our world that keep us strong as a couple. And I was thinking about a quote from Hendrik Hertzberg that says, "Marriage should be between a spouse and a spouse, and not a gender and a gender." We love who we love. There's attraction. There's chemistry. And there's all those things that draw you to a particular individual in your life. Isn't it sort of amazing in this world with so many people? And I lived in New York City for a while, and if you've ever walked down Times Square at night, there's masses of people. There are so many of them. And I think sometimes, how did I find just one person that is so special to me, and all of these people walking around and bumping into each other? And if you've been in New York City, you know you barely even look at someone. And yet, in this world, we all find one. We find someone to fall in love with. And sometimes it's a surprise when you find that person. And sometimes it feels like destiny. And if you really are drawn to someone, do you really ask yourself, well, I got to be careful, because if it's not a man or if it's not a woman, then it might not be okay? Or do you just feel that love? Gender has no bearing on it. Society likes to label people, though, as LGBTQ and so on. Beyond all these labels, it really is love is just love. It's a person, not a gender, not a label. Love is just love. And I'm going to be talking a lot about this today. But I wanted to take a little side and just remind all of you that next week, I hope you'll join me on the Couples Expert Podcast for a discussion on physical health and relationships with Risa Ganel. Risa is a friend of mine and is going to talk about how to strengthen yourself emotionally and physically in your relationship to make the most important relationship even better. So what I want to start with today's topic is really talking a little bit about history. Because even in pre-Columbian civilizations, we see evidence of same-sex relationships. There were people that were recognized in various cultures as two-spirit people, embracing the masculine and feminine aspects of their humanity. Some cultures celebrated them as gifted of the gods, and they had places of distinction in society. And you know, one of the things that I think is very interesting about that is a boy growing up in New York City and in a small town in Indiana. One of the things that I always freaked me out was this whole concept of the male-female difference in you. Because I could feel the feminine side, but it was so scary to have it. And I think that's true for all of us. And in 20th century, we hide sometimes those feelings that come up in all of us. And gay couples in particular, what's really sad for me is gay couples have to hide their orientation from the world. My dedication to couples and love is about authenticity. And what would it be like, not only in a partnership, but in the world, to be able and have to deny who you are and what you feel and what you love. In a relatively new American culture, these Puritan religious aspects of our country made it a sin and a crime to practice homosexuality. In the 20th century, gay couples, even today, have to hide their orientation. What has happened as a result of that is it led to incredible risky behaviors. And I think we have to understand this aspect to really understand what has happened. And one of the things that I recall very well, because in my professional path, I worked in one of the first HIV centers, and I worked in a medical center that was seeing one of the first outbreaks of HIV. And what we did is a lot of learning and educating, and really it was incredibly sad because the bathhouses is where people were meeting because they had to hide and sneak it to get their sexual relationships with other men. The majority of them were leading double lives. A large number of gay men and women were just in incredible pain because they had to hide who they are. The AIDS epidemic in the 80s, and that is when I was working at Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital. Some of you may know it. I think it's called Queen of Angels right now. And I was doing some work there. And the aftermath of all of this began to have a major shift that I was just so excited about, when there was more of an acceptance to this, and what men and women were recognizing is to save their own lives, they needed to develop much more monogamous relationships and love relationships. Gay couples began to have civil unions and recognized by law. And I'm very excited about some of the things that's happened over the last couple of years in terms of marriages and gay marriages. And it became easier to gay couples to adopt children and to live openly in our society. The LGBTQ citizens have been demanding the right of equal treatment. And it really is a cause of celebration. But there's a lot of folks out there that don't quite understand that, don't understand the love is love, and it has created a lot of difficulty for a lot of people. And one of the reasons I decided to do this podcast is to just try to dispel some of the fears and give you a really clearer picture of a gay relationship and the love relationship that comes with it. One of the things that normalizes gay relationships for me is the couples that I see in the office and that I practice with time and time again. When I interview these couples as to the reason that they're seeking relationship counseling, it's the very same issue that I see in different sex couples, heterosexual relationships. There is almost no difference. The feelings and the triggers and the cycles that get created are really the same. There are so many common problems that are the same. Finances, the division of labor in the work-life integrations, decisions on child rearing, you name it. If you think about what a different sex heterosexual relationship struggles with, it's exactly the same. There are no real significant differences in the things that we need in a love relationship, which is so powerful because it really means what we need is to know there's someone there that has our back, and that what we're all looking for is authenticity, stability, and security in the relationship. Now, here's one thing though. With same-sex couples that have many relationships that are common with the straight counterparts, there's also more that they have to contend with than those of us that are in heterosexual relationships. And what that is, more than anything, is the stigma in a straight world. Partners in a gay marriage, for example, bring with them a lot of fear and problems and rejection and fear of rejection in their same-sex relationships. Can you imagine being with your partner and just really feeling happy and playful and flirting, and you're going to a movie and you reach over and you give your husband or your wife a kiss, and then you look around you and there's look of disgust? What would that feel like? What would that be like? How embarrassing that is. And how sad to then feel, oh my gosh, I can't do that here. One of the things that I'm often asked is homosexuality a choice? I don't believe that for a second. And the research and my experience has shown me that it's not. Who choose to suffer and be subjected to all of that? To the violence? Who would choose to be hated? Who would be choosing that? So if you're in a relationship and you're willing to tolerate all of our society, that negativity that comes, why would you choose that if you could? Choose something else. I don't believe it is a choice. I think it's something we're born with, and I think the research is showing that, and I think we want to really honor someone who is loving someone in their life deeply, that love is as real as ours. We don't want to discriminate or reject against someone who's living out their love. What we know from the research, just to talk about that a little bit, is that children often begin to display sexual orientation at an age that's really, really young, too young to say it's a choice. Studies show that the brains of a homosexual individual differ somewhat from a heterosexual of that same gender. This has been scientifically, and I want to repeat that, scientifically shown to answer the question of choice. We don't choose who we fall in love with. If you're attracted to someone of the same gender, it's biology, not lifestyle. While you can choose not to act on it, you're going to be conflicted because you're not going to be true and authentic. This has been the struggle for men and women in homosexual relationships for many, many decades. Now, I was talking earlier about all the things that are the same, but there are some differences, and I think we have to highlight those. One of the issues that's not generally faced by a straight couple is the internalized homophobia. To one degree or another, it's the nagging deep sense of how you feel is abnormal, and here's the sadder one, immoral. Many gay people struggle with this their entire life, and it definitely affects the relationship. Imagine feeling some self-loathing and feeling wrong or different about themselves, and particularly when you start thinking about your family and how they may feel about you. Imagine having to live under this secrecy and really trying to figure out, how do I stay true to who I am? And worrying that if I really come out and be who I am, I might get rejected, and there may be violence that could kill me or hurt the people around me who I love. One of the other issues that's unique to same-sex couples is the stress of being closeted to family members, coworkers, and the public. It's a persistent invalidation of a relationship. One of the things I recall is when I was working in a family service agencies out of LA, Los Angeles. This was in the 80s, and one of the therapists there confided in me in terms that he had a partner. And I was amazed. It was one of the first few gay men that I met. And the first thought that entered my head was, nah, that can't be. There must be something. And then I realized what society had done to me. And I began to do some of my own internal work on this. And then began to recognize that we have to hold on to our beliefs in ourselves and in the people around us, and really not let society dictate what we feel and what we believe. This was a hell of a nice guy, and we became really, really dear friends, and it really allowed me to really understand what the messages of our society can do. To have to live a double life where you can't be yourself and must always be on guard, imagine that. Never let it slip that you have a partner of the same sex, because would I lose my job? For years, that would occur. How painful it would be to have to keep your love a secret when that partner is someone that you're so proud of, you want to shout to the world, that person is with me. And to have your partner come to visit you and have to lie about who you are. No, that's just a buddy that we go and we hang out sometimes. Not that's the person that I love, who loves me, and I'm so lucky to have him in my life. We want to be able to do those things. Coming out, just think about this. So you've lived a life out of secrecy, and you finally realize that I can't go on like this, and you decide to come out. It could be so terrifying to have people react in betrayal and shocked ways, and to have rejection. To have people who say, look at you in this gross way, and then have to deal with their reactions. To have the homophobic anti-gay attitude, and then you risk losing them as a friend. And it could be someone that that was your roommate in college. And now they're looking at you in this odd way and wondering what that would be like. We all want people to love us. And we hope and believe that those who love you for who you really are. But that's not often the case. It's a very, very painful step for a lot of couples and people who avoid really being themselves with you because of the fear of the outcome. Living a half-life or a life of deception is not healthy. Not in your love relationships. Overt homophobia is something that gay marriages deal with constantly, even in this enlightened times. The reason that same-sex have gravitated to certain communities and they've set up almost like ghettos because that place is what they call gay-friendly. You don't feel safe in the general public. In some places, it's an act of bravery for a same-sex couple to just hold hands, because doing that risks negative reaction, but even more scary is not just negative reactions of a look, but violence. There's been so much history and violence about gays that's only recently been acceptable to walk close together in certain places in America. Even though gay marriage is now legal, we still have a long way to go toward educating the public that gay people are people. They're just like you and me. They just want to be loved. They want to live their lives, raise their family the same as anyone else. Why should you be hated for this? The other issue that's really important is the children. Children of people who are raised in gay relationships. The sad part about it is that these kids are innocent and don't deserve to have the negative attention simply because their parents are gay. They get singled out, harassed at school by other kids, and parents make them feel that somehow their mom and dad are not normal. Or if they're living with two dads, it's not normal. I have to say, though, I've been really encouraged over the last 20 years or so. It seems that there's definitely been a shift in our society and in the generations that have followed mine toward a much more tolerant view of people who are different. My daughter's school friends identified the gay kids, and they were just their friends. And it's uplifting for me as a couples counselor, as a relationship expert, to see more and more couples coming into my office, not worrying about what my attitude might be and believing right away that it would be accepting. And that just feels really good. It really gives me hope that as our old biases slip away and we become a society that is much more tolerant much more accepting of gay marriage and LGBTQ folks, and that we really recognize that love truly is love. As I close today, one of the things I really want to share is that one of the things in my lifetime that is I've always stood up and fought discrimination and bias and bigotry. And that part of my hope for myself, my children, my grandchildren, is really carrying on this belief, and I really give my parents credit for this, of always standing up and fighting things that are unjust. I have dedicated my life in fighting discrimination wherever I see it. And it's something that gay couples have been doing for years and years, and it is as important today as it's ever been. We must each fight discrimination on every level where you find it. We can't let hate win. We must fight for love and believe that my mission in this podcast, in my practice, and in my own personal life, I know that if we can stand firm and find a way, a pathway to reach one another, to be authentic, to be real, to have a secure relationship with that one significant person in your life feels better. And if we don't allow discrimination to get in the way, we will win this fight. So I hope each one of you, if you really encounter this bigotry and discrimination for same-sex couples, LGBTQ people that you know, that you care about, stand up and let people know when they are uneducated and are talking in very negative, scary kind of ways, that the world is better when we love one another, whether it's same-sex or different sex, and that we can show the world that love is love, and love is the greatest force on this earth. So I bid you farewell today, and I wish you all incredible love in your life. This is Stuart Fensterheim, the couples expert, saying, stay connected. Take care.